Welcome to the Writer Dojo with your host, Steve Diamond.
That's me.
And Larry Correia.
You see, in this world there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. You dig.
Today's episode, Jason Cordova Exposé.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Writer Dojo. Glad to have you back with us. So today's a cool day because one of mine and Larry's buddies happens to be out in Utah on vacation. And so he's out here, and we were like, you know what? We should not ignore him. And we should probably get him on the show. So today we have with us Jason Cordova.
Hi.
This is a good day for me because, you know, two collaborators with Larry on the same show, which means we get to pick on Larry the whole time instead of like when it was me and Rothman on the show and they got to pick on me. So this is good. This is good. We're in a good place now, Larry.
Yeah, they can give you the real behind the scenes of what it's like to work with Larry Correia.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Jason. So first of all, thanks for coming by, man. We appreciate you making some time.
No, it was great. I was literally sitting around like, what am I going to do when I'm in Utah? Larry's sick. Steve is busy. And then all of a sudden everything just came together, what, yesterday?
Yeah. I've had COVID for the last week. If you guys are, so if I sound like crap this episode, that's why. I just barely got my voice back.
So, okay, Jason. So normally when we have people on, we try to get them on for a couple episodes. That way, the first episode, or at least a good chunk of the first episode, they can introduce themselves, talk about where they came from and whatnot. So Jason, why don't you just kind of start introducing yourself to the listeners who they've seen you in the Facebook group. They know who you are. Mm-hmm. And so talk about like kind of how you got to where you are as an author today.
Okay. Well, my name's Jason Cordova. Yay. I started my writer journey in 2005, actually. I watched this awesome Polish science fiction movie with a Japanese director called Avalon. And it was the most bizarrest, is that a word? It's a word now. It's the most bizarrest movie I'd ever seen in my life. But it was about underground video game through virtual reality. And it was awesome. And I was like, this is great, but it could be better. And it got my mind turned. I was like, man, what if I wrote a book that was a little bit better than this? And it was virtual reality, but instead of underground, it was like terrorists taking over. And then it just kind of grew from there. And then it got picked up. I submitted to my first publisher. It got picked up 2 weeks later, which is a record. And I got punched a lot by my other author friends when they heard that. Up until last year, I'd actually never had a rejection letter in my life.
Wow.
Until last year. Yeah, that gets me hit a lot. Please don't hit me.
Sure.
You're both bigger than me.
Huh. Okay, that's the first.
Yeah, I'd never had a rejection letter up until last year.
Because I have Monster Hunter, I was just over 100.
And no offense, but yours is much better than mine.
Well, Laurel K. Hamilton for Anita Blake, 250 rejections.
Yeah, I mean, look,
And
all the big
she
authors.
smokes all of us, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book. It got delayed because I had moved. I got a divorce and I moved, and I was stuck. And for somehow the publisher lost my email. I don't know how. And then 3 years later, she finally contacts me and says, "Hey, I want to publish this, but you haven't sent me any of the notes or corrections back yet." I was like, "I've never received any notes or corrections. What are you talking about?" And then we took care of that, and that got rushed about 3 months. Stephanie Osborne actually was the editor of that.
Oh,
and the poor woman didn't know. I didn't know what track changes were. This is how new to I did not set out to be an author. I was supposed to be a professional baseball player.
Yeah, I was going to say, you and I have talked about this because we're both avid baseball fans.
I was supposed to be a pro baseball player, not an author. So she would send me the notes and corrections on the document. I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay. So I just type over it instead of accepting or declining the track changes. So that manuscript was a mess. And I caused 2 other editors to quit before Stephanie got it because nobody told me what a track change was. I know now, but then I had no clue. And finally Stephanie called me. She's like, "Jason, you're a sweet kid, but you need to listen to me. You need to accept or decline. That's all I want you to do." "Oh, well, where's that?" At the top of your Word document. I was using like Windows 95 still because I had an ancient computer that barely ran. And I was like, "Okay, track changes. Oh, those. Okay." So I just said accept, decline. She said, "Yes, that's all you have to do, Jason."
Wow. Okay.
So for all of you listeners out there who happen to be very, very new to this game. You will never be this bad. So feel good about yourselves. No, it's funny though, like, because Larry and I, we were accountants for so long.
Yeah.
And we dealt every single day in Excel, in Word, and that suite for decades. And so that kind of stuff, like, we take it for granted. But there are so many people out there that don't work in these tools that they don't even know what they don't know. And that was where you were at.
Yeah, I did not know. And fortunately, I had the third editor was very patient. Very patient.
Those first two editors were weak.
They were weak. They couldn't cut the mustard.
That's hilarious.
I know one of them actually quit editing for that publisher too. She just straight up quit. She's like, I can't deal with this guy. He doesn't listen. It's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be listening to. What am I supposed to do? Help me here.
Well, no, this is actually really interesting. And for the listeners out there, because we actually have quite a few who are crazy and want to be editors. We just had one of our guest episodes is with Christine Nielsen.
Yep, that just aired, I think.
Is that going to air this week?
By the time this comes out, yeah.
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 So she was talking about the whole editing process and stuff, and we've met a number of people at conventions who said, "Look, I want to be an editor," and we give them like the Catholic sign of the cross. We're like, "Good for you," good luck, kid.
Good luck.
But I think this communication aspect is really, really key, because so many new authors or even established authors who've just been winging it, having that really clear communication with an editor is hyper important. I mean, if those editors had just told you what they needed.
Yeah, that book would have come out in 2008 instead of 2010 like it was scheduled.
Yeah.
Wow, so
Lesson learned there.
13 years then that you've been published.
Almost to the month. It was November 3rd, 2010 was when my book came out.
How many have you done since then?
So at this point, I would say about 22 books published with 9 more under contract, and about 40 short stories now.
Yeah, and you've also put together and edited some anthologies too.
One.
Okay.
Two.
Two.
Second one's with you.
Right.
Yep. So cool.
So
No, that's really good. I mean, I think it's really interesting for people, for listeners and prospective authors and stuff to understand that it's like the old business adage, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And I think that holds true for authors as well. If you're not writing, if you're not growing, and if you're not publishing, then your audience is actively withering.
that literally happened to me when I first got started. When Corruptor came out in 2010, a lot of people liked it. Great. But I got told that I was doing it wrong. And I was supposed to write short stories, build up my audience, and then write a novel.
Yeah, we've talked about that in the show. That's crap.
That's garbage.
But I listened to it. And for 4 years, I didn't publish a novel. 3 years, I didn't publish a novel. And then I wrote 6 novels in a period of like 8 months with Eric S. Brown because we're crazy.
That's right.
That 3-year gap probably caused a 3-year hole, at least in your career.
It almost killed my career.
Yep. Yeah, we've talked about that. The show is part of it is, and we talked about that with Rick Partlow. By the time this airs a few weeks ago,
and with Steve Bollier.
Yeah, you gotta keep bringing your stuff out in front of the people. Mm-hmm. You gotta keep feeding the audience and growing the audience. Yeah, and we've talked on the show about the short story versus novel. Yeah, I think that was in the olden days. That was kind of the advice. You're supposed to like work your way up and get an analog in Asimov's and.
That's exactly what I was told.
This is not the 1970s anymore.
There's no money in it.
Yeah, no, you can't make a living. The most prolific short story writers alive couldn't make a living just doing short stories. They're not markets.
Or they do. I mean, we talked about this on a Q&A episode that I don't know if it's aired yet, but like Ted Chiang, Story of Your Life or My Life.
This one aired already.
And so...
I mean, if you hit the lottery on a short story,
and it gets turned into a freaking movie.
Well, yeah, that's different.
Then sure, but it's not the short story at that point.
No,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're not living off the short story. You're living off the dramatic rights off of that short story.
And then
which good luck getting that.
And then your massive collection that has all of your short fiction in it all at once, right? But I mean, just mathematically speaking, right? I mean, you've done anthologies. We've all done anthologies. We've all edited anthologies. We've all sold plenty of stories in anthologies now. On average, you're getting what, $500 to $700 per short story sale?
That's on the high
If it's
end.
pro rate.
Pro rate, yeah. I was going to say, I was like, that's on the high end for what I've dealt with.
If it's pro, right? Think about what your bills are right now. You know, if you've had a good day, if you've had like a good year, maybe you'll sell 6 to 12 short stories in a year.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's what I did this year, and I was blown away when I put it together. I'm like, oh dang, I actually sold a lot of stories this year.
And you're like, that pays one mortgage payment.
Barely. I mean, maybe not even, depends on when the checks come. So it's, you know, you cannot rely on that. And so I get it, dude. Like I see, I mean, I think we all heard the same advice growing up trying to be authors. And so, I mean, you experienced it though.
Well, during my author journey, I moved to Kentucky and I don't know if you're familiar with the name Janet Morris. She was a big author back in the 80s, wrote one of the first New York Times bestselling science fiction books. Not the first, but one of the first. And it was one of Bane's first that hit the New York Times bestseller as well. Or hit the national bestseller. It hit one of the big lists at the time. Well, I went and we lived on her farm for about 2 months, I would say, while we were looking for a place to live out there because I got a job out there. And she put me through the Janet Morris boot camp of how to be a writer. Now, her advice about being the short story person was garbage, but her techniques and how to be a writer were spot on. So that was beneficial to my long-term career, but for the short term to keeping my author base that I built up with the first book, just absolutely killed it. And I owe Eric Brown a lot for saying, hey,
well, that dude produces.
Yeah. Well, he just randomly went on Facebook one day and said, hey, I'm looking for someone to collaborate for a new story idea I've got. Anybody interested? Just tell me what your creds are.
Oh my gosh.
And I know he got deluged.
Dude, can you imagine if I did that?
Oh heavens.
No. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
That's insane.
You'd have to hire a secretary just to go through those.
No, that'd be insane.
That's every. I mean, you do that. I mean,
yeah.
That's
every con.
It's every con. You walk up and
It's
someone
horrible.
someone like Jason comes up to you and says, "Dude, I've got an idea for a Monster Hunter story."
Oh yeah, behind the scenes, guys. That's kind of what Jason did.
I'm so sorry.
But to be fair, I've known
You're
you
the exception
for,
on this.
You are the exception on this. 'Cause I've known you for a lot of years, so I already knew you. I read some of your stuff. In fact, I was the guy that recommended you for the Campbell Award for
Yes, you
Best
were.
New Author, which I'm sorry, and I apologize for that.
Oh, whatever.
Because
What year was that? Was that
2015?
was that?
It was the
15?
Sad
Was that
Puppies
the
2.
The third.
Yeah.
No, third.
The
Sad
third
Puppies
one?
3.
yeah, so Jason was up for the Campbell Award for Best New Author in 2015, and.
Oh, back in the olden days when we
Right.
thought the Hugos meant something.
Yeah, so I apologize to you for that.
I did not hold it against you.
I was trying to be nice to
Well,
people.
the
I
funny
was
thing is,
nominated
so
that year too.
Laura Resnick. Oh, I'm dropping names. I'm sorry. Should we cut that? Okay, good. Laura Resnick actually emailed me on my website and said, "I'm so sorry that they dragged your name through the mud on this, and I will support you if you want us backing you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Larry's a great friend of mine. I love Larry. I'm surprised
And I
that
liked your stuff. That's why. That's the part they was so political that I was like, no, literally, this guy's really talented.
Yeah.
Well, and then the whole thing where they started coming at me saying, well, he's not eligible because he had a book published in 2010. I was like, well, by your definition of the rules, I didn't sell crap and I didn't get in advance. So therefore, it doesn't fall under
Same
the
thing happened to
the
Lev
deadline.
Grossman, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I lost to a guy who was already a bestseller off his books for like 8 years.
Yeah.
It was a different genre.
It was a different genre. It was speculative, not science fiction. It's like science fiction.
Whatever.
But whatever. And so it's just really the whole thing. Well, I was going to come in last no matter what, which is funny because I'm still outworking everybody else I was up against. But
Oh yeah, by a lot, all combined.
so the thing is, there was a stupid process, but that, I don't know if that helped get your name out there anymore, perhaps, maybe,
Honestly,
or maybe in
it
positive
gave
or
me-
negative. I have no idea.
It gave me cred with your fans.
Okay.
Your fans have, honestly, I'd say 80% of my sales now are your fans because you recommended me, they picked up my stuff, they liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one reason. So when you did approach me about doing a book together, I knew you. I knew your work ethic. I knew your quality, and you had a really good pitch for me.
I was going to say, and the pitch was good.
The pitch was
The
really
pitch was
good.
real good.
And so guys, you're not Jason.
No,
Please spare us all the awkwardness of that.
no, yeah, yeah.
If I've known you for 15 years and you want to pitch something to me, that's a little bit different. Go for it.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Jason. And I don't know, see if we can embarrass him some more. We'll be right back.
All Kira wanted was a dog for Christmas. But when Santa delivers a baby Kaiju instead, she is determined to fix this mistake, one way or the other. Recruited by Santa to help save Christmas, Kira will discover not only the meaning of Christmas, but the mystery behind the baby Kaiju. From the deep dark depths of the Pacific Ocean to the snow-covered tops of the Rocky Mountains, Kira will discover that sometimes doing the right thing is the scariest thing of all. Available exclusively on Amazon for only 99 cents, author Jason Cordova brings you a heartwarming Christmas story suitable for all ages. Grab your copy today.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. Okay. All right, Jason. So in the first half of the episode, we kind of got, talked about you, where you started, how crazy you were, yada, yada, all the good stuff. So what I want to talk about now, because I find this aspect super interesting with every guest that we have on, it's for like your process, where you started versus where you are now. So let's kind of let's talk about, outlining versus discovery writing in the beginning, tips and tricks that you've picked up over the years that have helped you become more efficient and just a better quality writer.
Okay, yeah. So, and again, I'm going to really irritate a lot of people who struggle writing. Corruptor, I completely pantsed. It was 120,000 words, and I wrote it in 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. It was a mess. I'm not even going to lie about that. It was a train wreck, but it was done, and I can go back and fix it later. That was my thought process. I didn't expect to sell the second draft that quickly. That was just one of those weird things. And I was a hard pantser when it comes to writing science fiction, and I still am, actually. A lot of my science fiction, I just pants. It's why I like writing Space Navy stuff so much, because I was in the Navy. I know this stuff. This is easy. I just got to make it three-dimensional. Done.
Ships are ships, man.
They are. Ships are ships in space. And if you keep the same command structure and you remember the ships, how the personnel enlisted to officer ratio, all that stuff, and remember without breaking any classified information, what you did on a ship, you can make it plausible and work it into any environment. I actually, for like Fever, I had to research the crap out of that, because we were delving into something that you scratched the surface on briefly in one book as a passing mention almost. Mm-hmm. And that's what gave me the idea for the pitch. And then I had to research that, go into the native mythologies, which mythology we're following, before I finally said, hey, let's just throw it all together. Cause they don't care what they call, as long as they get the name right.
Yeah. So it's not like, so if you're writing the Navy, it's a thing, that's why there's that advice.
Wait a minute. You don't know all about
Mesoamerican
mythologies,
gods and monsters.
You're not an expert in this already?
Yes.
The book I just bought will help me. At Barnes & Noble, they had a really thick book that was all the myths and lore of Mesoamerica.
Well, one of the nice things about being Monster Hunter universe, writing in the Monster Hunter universe, is we're pretty flexible as far as how accurate everything is.
True.
Yeah.
And so so what people's actually, I'm sure I've offended a lot of people who believe in really obscure ancient religions. That's not what we believe.
All three of them.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm sure there's followers of Assad, the Chaos God, are mad at me for messing up his whatever.
What are you gonna do?
But
can't please everyone, Larry.
Well, that's why there's that advice: write what you know.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's because it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to write what you know.
And I'm actually
torture.
the opposite. I don't want to write what I know. I want to write interesting stuff that I have to learn, because I'm at heart, I love to learn. I love to just absorb knowledge. So, and once you stop learning, you start dying.
Yeah.
So
write what you know can get boring pretty quick.
Exactly. So I like to write. I really want to write an epic fantasy. You have no idea how much I want to write one. That's why I love writing Monster Hunter, because it makes me learn. And plus, writing with you, I'm learning more because you're teaching me how to be a better writer as I'm going.
Well, there was
let's not get his head any bigger than it
You didn't
already
read the first
is.
draft. Well, actually, you did probably.
No, I didn't.
well, okay, so that's one thing. So behind the scenes, I've had a lot of collaborators over the years, but a lot of authors will like where you got senior author, junior author kind of thing going on. A lot of the senior authors will phone it in. I don't do that.
No.
Like, and I think everybody who's ever collaborated with me for good or ill would agree that I don't phone stuff in. I don't just
That's right.
fire and forget.
No.
No, you're very active and hands-on in the whole process from start to finish.
Yeah, pretty much. And so when we get involved in the actual editing and stuff, my goal by the end is to be able to not be able to tell which one of us wrote which part.
Yes.
If the reader can tell which one of us wrote which part, we failed. And if the reader guesses which one of us wrote which part and they're wrong,
Yeah, that's good.
ultimate
That's a
success.
good feeling.
When I was rereading the book, because I don't usually reread what I write, unless I'm researching for the next book. But when I was rereading what we wrote, I couldn't tell except for one line, and it's my favorite line of the book. And I know that's how I knew it was yours because it's in the first scene when the spoilers.
Oh, yeah.
Sand
Go
demon
for it.
pops out of the sand.
It's the
and
opening
says
chapter.
half breed, and she responds.
Yeah.
I was like, that's Larry. I laughed so hard when I read that.
Well, like I remember because we did the big red beaver scene,
Mm-hmm.
the big wet red beaver scene, which is funny as hell. But so I remember Jason originally was thinking that I was going to make him tone it down because you had a whole bunch of like innuendo in there. Obviously, they're fighting.
Larry's never been known to tone anything down except for horror with me.
I know, so I actually had to tone down Steve's darkness in places in a book about World War I trench fantasy. I was like, Steve, we call that
Steve, we have to think of the children.
we have a name for that now. That's the rats eating people quotient.
Yeah.
It's like you need more or less rats eating people. And no, but so I actually in that scene I was like, you know what? If we're turning the knob all the way up on the absurdity for the scene, we might as well lean into it. And we did. And so I don't know. I honestly, I learn something every single time I collaborate with somebody else. Like I learned stuff writing with Steve. I learned stuff writing with Jason. I picked up little things from you guys. Everybody I've ever written, John Brown, Sarah Hoyt, everybody I've ever written with, Mike Cooper, everybody I've ever written with, I will find some little things that you guys do that I'm like, okay, that's cool.
I think you're actually the only person who's collaborated with more people than I have.
Probably because I've done a lot.
I'm at 6 now.
I'm more than that. Yeah. So.
Well, in traditional publishing.
Oh, traditional.
Oh yeah. You get out. You get out of that.
I mean, we were just in Vegas, and we were like with Craig Martell.
Oh, you get the J.N. Cheney is basically the James
Cheney's.
Patterson of independent sci-fi, where he's got like 6,000 co-authors.
Right.
You know.
But no, it is a lot. I mean, because I've seen you collaborate, Jason. I've seen you collaborate with a ton of different people, and
I like collaborating.
obviously Larry has. I have now too. Less than you guys, but still some.
He's still done several.
And it's, I personally find that it's not that the books are better or worse than if I write it by myself. It's just that they're so different.
They're definitely different.
You know, there's so much different. I don't know. You're hitting these story points and these characters from so many different angles that maybe you on your own wouldn't have thought to hit it that way. And that's why I like it so much. I don't know about you guys, but that's why I like it so much.
I learned, like you said, I learn something every time I collaborate with someone, and also I pick up tricks and tips, and plus, honestly, I like working with people because they bring fresh ideas in that I never thought of, and like some of the stuff you pulled, and you were like, hey, maybe instead of this, we should try this, and I was like, wow, I didn't even consider that. Let's put him at a campfire. Huh? That was
actually pretty cool when they put him around the campfire playing the guitar. And we just decided that Kimpton likes Marty Robbins.
Yep.
He seems like the kind of guy who would listen to Marty Robbins. Why did he wind up going to Butte, Montana high school? Is because at some point I decided that he was Johnny Football Hero from Butte, Montana. No, it's collaborations they're fun and they're educational. They are more work though.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So for those of you guys listening to this, you think a collaboration is going to be like, oh, I'll do half the work.
It's not 50-50.
No.
It's 100-100.
It's 100-100.
Well, for the good ones, in my opinion.
Now there's a lot of collaborations that are out there that are like 99-1, you know, and the senior author, and that 1% consists of I'm going to cash a check for putting my name on it.
Well, I mean, look, there is gas money involved, and you have to get from point A to point B. So that 1%.
I can't even fault that. I mean, James Patterson has fed and clothed hundreds of stray authors.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
He runs a stray author shelter in his basement.
Yeah, him, Nora Roberts,
He just keeps
Cheney. That's what they've done.
They have
That's
like
what
the
they do.
little chain link. Each author gets their own personal chain link enclosure.
Yeah.
It's got a drain. It's got a food bowl. It's
Got a
everything.
water bottle hanging from the ceiling with a drip faucet.
Just like a hamster. It's fine.
Everything a writer
Exercise
could
wheel.
need.
Yeah.
There's an exercise wheel. They get 15 minutes a day on it.
It's wonderful.
And when they die, they just like have a chute. They throw the dead author in and bring in a new one.
Still
They're
better
gonna
than my
make
day
so
job.
much money in that basement.
Yeah, still.
Yeah. Yeah. I've known people who've written with James Patterson. I'm only exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, you know Brandon Du Bois, right?
No, I know of.
Okay, yeah. He wrote with Patterson, and he said it actually was a very good experience for him. So
But really?
Yeah, we know a guy that it wasn't quite. But there is a little bit of like perhaps unreliable narrator coming from that direction
That's
too.
true.
So hard to know.
everybody's different.
Well, and I do think that is the difference here. I think that if Jason and I, and we've done this a little bit, we did this at LibertyCon a little bit, where we sat down and we were like, so what was it like working with Larry?
Yeah.
In our experiences, we're different. And I think that if Jason and I actually sat down and were like legit comparing notes, we would find there were some similarities. But there are also going to be radical differences just because
you
the way
guys
we approach
write
differently.
super different.
Oh, yeah.
Steve's writing style is dramatically different than Jason's writing style.
Yeah.
Like the way you guys come at stuff is very different, and you got your strengths and your weaknesses. And I think an important thing as an author is to be able to recognize your strengths and weaknesses and what you're good at and what you bring to the table, and then amp that up. Like, I'm a character guy. I think, okay, so both you guys agree. Like, one of the things I did is I take rough drafts from both of you. I will tweak character like crazy. I love that. I love intertwining character stuff and character backstory stuff. I mean, that's one of the things I love about the process. So when I'm listing my strengths and weaknesses, that would be one of the things I'm like, okay, this is something I'm good at, you know? So I think if you are going to go into that kind of business relationship with another writer, recognize what you are good at. And also, whether you're junior or senior, be humble enough to recognize when you're right or wrong.
Right.
Because when I was junior, I had a collaborative experience where, I'm not naming any names, where I was just like, no, dude, you're wrong. You're just wrong. That is a bad call. That is a bad decision. Don't do that. I mean, that project never came to fruition, but I'm looking at the outline and I was like, that is, speaking as character guy, even when I wasn't new, I was like, no, that's just a bad call, dude. We don't want to go up that hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think it's, since we're kind of on this whole topic of collaborating and how that process works. Jason, do you approach your projects completely differently or with some of the same mentality when it's just your own stuff versus collaborative?
Well, it depends on the collaborator.
Okay.
For Larry, it was a very, I tiptoed around a minefield because I didn't know how to approach him without like getting killed. And my preface when I said, "Hey, I've got this idea. Please don't shoot me." But
Yeah, that is,
because I know how many people come up to you, and I didn't want to be that guy.
Right.
Especially since because I'd known you at that point. I'd known you for like 10, 12 years.
yeah, 10, 12 years.
I mean, I
probably.
interviewed you for my website back in like 2010.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be that guy to say, oh, yeah, I'm using my friendship with Larry to get a book deal. I didn't want to be that guy. It's the same thing I tell Tony. I was like, Tony, I don't want everybody to say, oh, yeah, you're writing for Bain because you work there. You're using your friendship with Tony to get books. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. And the thing is, people are going to say that, but I mean, people are going to talk trash no matter what. But really what it comes down to, ultimately what you're going to get judged on is the quality of your book. Regardless of how you got the deal, ultimately that's what matters.
Yeah. So when it comes to the collaborators, it just really depends on who it is, what we're writing, and what our goals are. Do we want to write a fun-packed, action-packed, crazy story like I did with Christopher Smith? Or do I want something really, really gritty like I did with Christopher Smith? Okay, wait. Hold on.
That's what Chris brings to the table. Everything.
Yeah,
Schizophrenia.
yes.
He's the full package.
God, I love writing with him though.
He's a good dude.
He is.
Chris is
He's a funny kid. I like him a lot.
I do think it is interesting, and I like what you said, Larry, that it really, when you're working with different collaborators, you kind of get to see just the different styles and the different tones and the different things that they bring to the project. Okay, so answer me this thing, Jason. So I can't remember if we talked about this in the actual episode, if we were still talking about this during one of the breaks, but so you primarily, you tend to switch back and forth between outlining and discovery writing.
Yeah. Like
Or you were outlining, you were discovery only at the beginning.
I was discovery only at the beginning. Yes. It took writing short stories actually to make me become an outliner because I hated writing short stories after about 3 years. I detest them because I was like, this isn't enough space to tell the true story, to really delve into the character like I want to. I want to go back to writing novels like I started off. So I was like, well, how do I do that and get these editors off my back? And finally I was like, you know what? I'm just going to outline. And if they don't like the outline, I'll just go from there. So what I'll do is I'll build the character and then I'll build a story around that character and I'll find that character a world where they can thrive in, and then I'll write it.
You know, that's interesting because you and I, earlier this year?
It was last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah, because I got really, really hyper when you were helping me with that outline.
It was, so I think I'd just been laid off.
Oh, so it was earlier this year then?
No, that was last year.
Oh, then yeah.
Yeah, it was almost a year ago. So you and I were talking, and this makes sense now that you're saying all this stuff out loud, because the first thing you said is, I've got this really great character, and I want to build this story around it. And here's some things, some world things that I have that kind of point towards this character. And so, okay, I see. So I see where your head's at now. Now that you've explained this, I get it now. I get what you were doing.
I always start with the character, the main character at least, or maybe a secondary character who's supporting the main character. And I try to find a world.
Interesting, because we've had episodes where we talk about, like, what comes first, world or character, and how you could go about it different ways. That you're a character guy. That's cool.
I think I definitely am. You are pretty much too.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can all point to exceptions, but yeah, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Well, look, we don't have a ton more time for this episode. So unless there's anything that you needed to bring up, Jason.
I was just reminded also that I'll get the title of a book, and I have no idea where it goes.
Jerk.
I know. I'm good with titles. You know
Dude,
that.
I'm so bad at titles.
You're so
I've got
titles.
5 titles for you.
Oh, okay.
So we'll talk later.
All right. Well, because
We're just going to hire Jason as our title
we've got
consultant.
preliminary titles for the rest of the trilogy.
Yes.
But I just, most of my titles have been changed by Tony Weisskopf before
Monster
publication.
Hunter, Electric Boogaloo.
Tony is. I'm the reason that I guess a couple of the new books that have come out have different titles, because I'm good with titles.
Good, because I'm bad.
Terrible.
Well, so speaking of bringing strengths and weaknesses to the table, I recognize I am trash at titles.
Yeah. You just pawn it off onto me.
I do. That's one reason I need co-authors, is to come up with titles for me. It's not the writing part. It's like, guys, what do we call this thing?
I don't know. All right. So with that, that's all the time we have for this episode. We're going to have Jason on another one here. You guys know how this works. There's going to be a week-long pause for you, but for us, it was mere moments.
Well, that, and we're full disclosure, we're going to try to squeeze in one more episode because we're going to go sign books at a gun store here in Utah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So that should be fun.
All right. So that's all we have for you today. Thanks so much, Jason. Thanks for being on the episode. We appreciate you having you here, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
So this is the Writer Dojo, and we'll see you in the next one.
Writer Dojo is Steve Diamond and Larry Correia. Produced by Jack Wilder and Bear and Hare Studios. Theme song, Word Mercenaries by Craig Nivo. New episodes come out every Wednesday wherever you stream your content. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can help support us by going to anchor.fm/WriterDojo, by leaving a 5-star rating and review, and by helping to spread the word. To advertise on the Writer Dojo, email ads@writerdojo.com. All questions and comments can be emailed to questions@writerdojo.com. WriterDojo.com.
It's done. I mean,
Voting's closed.
it is said. I mean, the captain has spoken.